To break it all down now, let's bring in Politico healthcare reporter Jennifer Haberkorn. Jennifer, thanks for joining us. So it seems like the conventional wisdom is that any sort of delay is bad for this bill's chances. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's hard to see how this bill just sitting out there for another week to be criticized is going to help things. As you mentioned, there's already 2 senators who opposed the bill, and there's plenty of other Republican senators who have big problems with the legislation, and it's hard to see how this time is going to, really do a lot to help bring them along.
So in terms of the timeline moving forward, at least the New York Times is reporting that Senator McCain may not return to Washington at least for 1 week, maybe 2 weeks. What are you hearing?
McCain's office has said that he's going to be in Arizona for at least a week. But they didn't say definitively that he'd come back after a week. So it could be 2 weeks. Either way, I mean, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has already delayed the August recess by 2 weeks. So technically, Republicans do have time. They could wait and hold this vote in August. But as we mentioned, having the bill hang out there only to be criticized and not having, a ton of new support come in is not going to help those wavering senators move to a yes.
Right. As you mentioned, we already know that there's 2 GOP senators that are definitely in the no category, Susan Collins and Rand Paul, a number of senators that have expressed concerns. Which senators are you watching closely to see whether or not they waver into the no side or not?
There's quite a few. Mike Lee, a conservative from Utah, has said that he's uncertain whether he's going to support even starting debate on the bill. Dean Heller in Nevada, he's up for re-election next year. He has concerns about the bill because his state expanded Medicaid and would see cuts under this legislation. Those 2 are probably at the top of my list, but I doubt that we're going to see one senator jump and become a no because they're going to be automatically labeled the senator that stopped Obamacare repeal. I think what's more likely to happen if a 3rd senator becomes a no is that there's going to be a group of senators. There's already a group of senators who have big concerns about Medicaid, Dean Heller being one of them, Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia being another, Rob Portman from Ohio. I could see, a group coming out saying that we have concerns about this bill. We don't want debate to start. But, if one senator kills the bill, they are going to be forever known as the Republican who stopped Obamacare repeal. And, no one senator wants to have that label on them.
That is a very good point. I imagine behind the scenes there's a lot of conversation, debate, visiting offices. The president has been tweeting out that he's got his pen in hand. He just wants something to sign. He wants them to hammer out a deal so he can sign it. But he hasn't been as, at least publicly, involved in this bill the way he was with the House version of the bill. So who's sort of the most influential here? Is this about Senate leadership? Is this maybe about the vice president getting involved?
It's definitely Senate leaders, and they kind of like it that way. The House is, like you were saying, the president was much more involved in talking to individual members. But in the Senate, they like to do their own thing. They like to write their bill. They like to vote on it. They're less likely to be swayed by a call from the president, as House members might be more likely to be. So it's really come down to Senate leaders, Mitch McConnell, John Cornyn, the majority whip. They've been really talking to members, figuring out what they need to get them on board. So far the White House has kind of obliged that strategy, let them do their own thing. But I do think if additional senators come out and become no's, that we might see the White House step in and try to revive the legislation. But it's just hard to see how the president calling individual senators is going to get them to a yes. Senator Rand Paul on Thursday, as he was leaving the Capitol, mentioned to me and some other reporters that he went to the president himself and said, I might be a yes on this if you split the bill into 2. And Trump said, no, we're not going to do that. But it does indicate that senators feel like they can go to the White House if they don't get their way with the Senate.
That is fascinating. So this is all happening while the Donald Trump Jr. Russia meeting story has been exploding. I'm wondering, according to your sources, are lawmakers frustrated by this distraction? Or maybe the distraction is something that they welcome to a certain degree because it means the public isn't looking at their slow progress. It's looking over here at something else.
I don't think anyone thinks that this helps them at all. I mean, a distraction is a distraction is a distraction. And, you know, in the absence of having any legislative accomplishments, we are talking about things like Russia, things that drive the conversation away from, you know, them being able to go home and saying, look, you elected Republicans in Congress and the White House. Look at what we got done. As of right now, they really don't have a ton to point to. And if Obamacare repeal doesn't happen, they're going to have even less to point to when they go home in August. So I don't think the distractions really help them you know, get their agenda accomplished.
All right. Politico's Jennifer Haberkorn. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.